As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. It's Wednesday, January 7th. Another day for the Detroit Lions offseason. And we have more updates for you guys with what's going on. Whether it's rumored guys that could be the next OC of the Detroit Lions, whether it's other candidates for both sides, if they end up making the decision to get rid of Calvin Shepard, we'll talk about it all. We'll talk Brad Holmes as well, because Brad Holmes speaks to the media tomorrow. So we'll talk about what we want to hear from Brad Holmes. And John Maakaron will be joining.
Wednesday. Hey, by the way, I just thought of this because I was just looking at my Instagram before we hopped on the show here. You see, I mean, our guy Lukas Klotz is just Mr. Worldwide all of a sudden. You see this guy?
Hanging out with the Ohio State guys.
I mean, this guy's just best friends with Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. He's just chopping it up like just a normal day. Like, that's just his boys now. The man's graduated from us and he just moved on. He said, I'm going with Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. Like, man.
Yeah, those are sick photos, man. Those are two top 5 picks, top 10 picks.
Yeah, I know what he was ready for those to come out because he wanted to post those so bad, I'm sure.
Those are fire picks. Dude, I'd post them too. I mean, I would throw those up. So
when I saw I got tagged. I said I got tagged in a photo. I looked, and the first one's Jeremiah Smith, Klotz.
Yeah, shout out Lukas, man.
Good for him, dude. Love him.
He's doing some special things. I see people are still talking about the David Blau stuff, which, by the way, we kind of talked about yesterday. But Detroit sports fan, I think Blau could be the next Ben Johnson. With that being said, I would go with a proven guy. Well, if you think
that's such a two-way take, dude.
If you think he could be Ben Johnson,
hire him. You want Ben Johnson in your room.
Here, and I said this yesterday. We said this yesterday. We agreed on it. It's not that I don't think David Blau is he's a bright guy, obviously.
Hey, David Blau.
He does have some thick brows though.
Dude.
David Blau. Not that he isn't a bright dude. I'm sure offensively he's a bright dude. You can't afford to take another risk if you're Dan Campbell. I just think he's in a position where it's a massive risk. If you go over 2 with inexperienced guys, you're on the hot seat, man, automatically. So at least if you hire a proven guy, you have some leeway because it's like, well, the guy had a resume, it just didn't work out. You know who I really like, and it's a guy who had a similar career path as David Blau, but he's actually, I'll tell you the difference between the two. You know Davis Webb with the Broncos? Yeah, love that guy, dude.
Can I ask you, though, why? Because Davis Webb is in the same position as John Morton was a year ago. So and I know I'm not going to compare the two, but I just, what did John Morton do with the Broncos? Did Davis Webb elevate this year? How does that look?
So Davis Webb has been the quarterback coach working with Bo Nix since he was a rookie. So he has helped develop Bo Nix. Like, he's actually developed him. John Morton was just kind of the passing game coordinator, but he's developed Bo. And I think on top of that, he's doing some other things within the offense, I think, lately, but he's had more time as a quarterback coach. Like David Blau, I think it was just his first year. I think it was his first year, actually.
He wasn't even the quarterback's coach this year. He was the assistant quarterback's coach. And then he got moved into it when they let go of the quarterback's coach, like I think halfway through the year.
I could see if you're let's say David Blau was a quarterback coach somewhere and that quarterback developed clearly and he was there for 2 years. You're like, wow, he did a really good job with this quarterback or whatever. You just don't have anything with David Blau. Davis Webb, you could see the impact, him working with Bo Nix, and he's a hot commodity right now. Like, the Raiders want to interview him. It's not that you obviously aren't going to bring that guy in to be your OC. He'll probably get a head coaching gig, but that's like the difference between quarterback coach and quarterback coach. Why I'm maybe more skeptical on David Blau. It's like, dude just got into coaching and he's the assistant quarterback coach. Now he's the quarterback coach. And now we just fast track him to OC next year for a team that needs to win a Super Bowl. It's like, that is a lot. It's a lot.
It's a big jump. I think it's a massive risk. In my mind, I'm kind of out on the and I'm not saying like fully out, but like your guy, like, hey, he developed a quarterback. Like you're bringing a guy in my opinion, like I'd rather go out and get a proven guy that's like drawn plays up already, and you know that he has a good scheme. Because like, what's his name? Logan Webb.
Oh, Davis Webb, which he is the passing coordinator on top of the quarterback.
Okay, so he does. Okay, I like that then, because if it was just like hey, he's developed a quarterback, like Jared doesn't need to be developed. He needs someone to come in that's established and like, hey, this is what I want to run. This is what you guys are running. Let's kind of mix the two, and then also, I have that Ben Johnson mind to where I'm going to get a little creative, something that we didn't have this last year. I think that's honestly, like, I think that's the biggest problem this year was just like this offense just wasn't as creative. And then the adjustments like third quarter, like that, like that was kind of like you were very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like not creative, but also like very undisciplined this year compared to years past. And I think that's the issue to where you need a guy that's going to come in and like, this is how I want to do it. We're not messing anything up. And then also a very creative mind because of all the weapons that you have. So it's weird. The coaching carousel right now is just very weird. I don't know, because there's like guys like Mike LaFleur. Is it Mike LaFleur over in Los Angeles?
Getting some head coaching buzz.
That's the thing where I thought potentially he could be a guy that wants to go be an OC to go prove he can call plays. And then all of a sudden Mike LaFleur is getting called for head coaching positions. And it's the same thing with the Rams. You see here, this guy, Nate Shellhaus. Is that his name?
Yeah, like Shielhaus.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it.
He's their pass game coordinator, I believe, or he's the guy that I remember last year watching a whole like 30-minute video or like a behind the scenes with him when Liam Cohen got a job. They did it on Liam Cohen, and then they also brought it with him. But he got head coaching interviews last year, not only just OC, I think, or not maybe he got OC last year. He's a kind of a name to watch out for as well. So it's really interesting how this whole thing's working out, man. Because I wouldn't be shocked if Mike LaFleur gets an OC job, because I would think he wants to actually be a play caller if he doesn't get a head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think he would want to do that, but again, if you're getting head coaching opportunities, which is kind of nuts, then you just kind of take. I mean, we saw Kevin O'Connell get it, we saw Zach Taylor get it, and Sean McVay was calling plays. So I guess
does Kevin O'Connell call plays?
Now, now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So see, that's a weird thing though, because he did it in LA, but then he goes right to Minnesota and he's like, I'm going to call my own plays. But he never did he ever call plays before?
He probably was involved, but I don't think so. No, Sean McVay, I believe, called plays. So
it's interesting.
So yeah, no, he was just a bright dude around. He was around Sean McVay, obviously a bright guy offensively, and Zach Taylor, same thing. He was. I think he was the. I don't think he was OC though. But he was something he was working with. I think he might have been the quarterback coach with Jared, I think. But whatever. Yeah, maybe Mike LaFleur gets an OC head coaching job, just being the OC and not calling.
If I was an organization, I would bring in Mike LaFleur as the head coach.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Right away, like so fast. Seeing how that tree's gone.
You know how it is. And also, it's the crazy thing is a coach we've talked about that would be an easy head coaching candidate. It has gotten 0 head coaching interviews. Brian Flores has had no head coaching interviews.
This is insane.
So far. And by the way, they're out of the playoffs. Like, you're seeing Mike McCarthy get requested. Like, guys are getting requested. Yeah, and
who's the old Cowboys coach? Jason Garrett?
Jason Garrett
has an interview. Yeah.
And Brian Flores did not. And this is very obvious. I told you before, he's blackballed. Like, he sued the NFL, and I think this is the NFL just doing him extremely dirty. It's just the reality. Like, and it's unfortunate because Brian Flores, in my opinion, if I'm an organization, I think he'd be one hell of a head coach. But he's just not getting the opportunity. So if you want to be a DC, or not want to, but if you have no choice but to be a DC, I didn't hear about no extension yet, Boone.
I would go get Brian Flores so fast in Detroit. That would change his defense like night and day. Can I give you something real quick?
Hey, don't worry, we got Brian Flores at home. Calvin Shepard. Wait, don't worry. we got Calvin Shepard at home.
Dan's like, no, hey, Shep, hey, we're another day, still has a job.
Yeah, and by the way, another day, he still has a job, which again, I hate doing this, but it's just the reality. He still has a job. Another day, more comments on our channel saying, "Oh, you guys don't get it. He didn't. He had defending.
I'm
Calvin
so
Shepard.
tired of that, man.
And then I see on Twitter, people are like, anybody with a brain would understand that it wasn't Kelvin's fault. Really?
Anyone with a brain would understand we haven't had a good defense in a billion years.
What are we do, guys? We got to start demanding better here. I mean,
that's why. Well, you know what's interesting to me, Jeff? It's like the fan base. We get all these comments like, "Why are you wanting Calvin Shepard out? Why do you want this? Why do you want that?" But then you know what? Like at the end of the season, when the Lions lose, everyone's complaining, everyone's mad. What happened? And it's like, hey, well, maybe we've been trying to tell you all these different reasons why, but when we tell you, you get mad about it. It's the same thing. I've brought it up too many times. Probably this will be Jeff, this is the last time I'll bring it up. But it's like when people are mad at me about the Aleem McNeil stuff, and then now at the end of the year, they're all mad. They're like, "Why do we have Aleem McNeil?" Well, I thought a year ago you guys were mad at me for bringing it up. You guys got pissed at me and thought I was an idiot, and you guys were like in the comment section. I bet we can go back and look at the comments on that. Like, this Booner guy's an idiot. This guy sucks. And then a year later, everyone's like, this guy sucks. Not talking about Booner, talking about Aleem McNeil. And it's like the same thing here. It's like, hey, man, like, Shep, love him to death, man. He's probably a great human, great dude. Just didn't have a good defense, and there was regression in the defense. And you could be like, well, injuries. There was injuries last year, and they still regressed. It's like, it's insane. That means last year you didn't have the best defense in the world because you had all those injuries, and then this year you found a way to make it even worse.
And no one wants to bring up, it's tunnel vision. Nobody wants to just look over in San Francisco and see a DC dealing with more injuries doing just fine. No one wants to acknowledge that. They hate to acknowledge it. It's like kryptonite to these people. They don't want to bring it up. It's not Calvin's fault because Calvin didn't have, both of his safeties. There's, by the way, Brian Branch for a handful of weeks. I mean, Brian Branch got hurt later in the season. They were giving up explosive plays with Brian Branch, and that was with DJ Reed back. I know he was struggling, but still, you had some of those guys still in place playing football for you. On top of that, if you really want to go tit for tat here and compare players, tell me where Robert Saleh had an Aiden Hutchinson, who was top 5 in sacks, or had a Jack Campbell, who was arguably the best linebacker in football. Did Robert Saleh have those guys?
No.
They both
put together a great defense
and broke their legs. That was Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, both out. And
their rookie top 15 pick also out.
So it's like, I don't want to hear guys like injuries. Well, Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell. All right. You still had Anzalone. You still had Meek Robertson wasn't great. I understand that. But still, on the interior, you still had some of your main starters. You had starters everywhere. AQM at 11 sacks. You still had some of these players. What the hell? You can't be you're 25th scoring defense. What the fuck are we doing, guys? You know what I mean? Come on.
It's the same people with the David Blau stuff, to where if you push back on the David Blau stuff at all, they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, and it's because, is syndrome like a mean thing to say, that people have a syndrome?
What kind of syndrome?
Like a lion syndrome. Like I don't want to say anything mean.
Like a
I don't know. It's like
Kool-Aid or something?
Yeah, like you're like 100%. Like the slappies, and it's like weird because I've always been on the slappy side of things. But dude, Jeff, it's like with the David Blau stuff. It's like, all these Lions fans just hear that they interviewed David Blau, and instead of like actually thinking about it, they're just like, I love that. I love what they're doing. And the only reason they say it is because the Lions are doing it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like if the Lions tomorrow like sign like a random player, and they're like, oh, I love that signing, like knowing nothing about that player, but just because the Lions did it, instantly their first thought's like, yep, I agree with Brad and Dan. Yep, I love, like, that's what it is with the David Blau stuff. And it's like, instead of actually thinking about it, they're like, well, actually, and it's like, dude, with David Blau, I see the point a little bit where people are like, you want to keep the same system, and he knows it. Isn't that what they just did last year, and they were unsuccessful doing it? So you're just running back the same excuse. Like, people who cover the team, I've seen today and yesterday tweet out with the David Blau stuff, like trying to make like a point, like, guys, like, it's harder to switch the whole system. Like, and I'm like, you just did this last year with John Morton. Like, he knew the offense, and you tried to do that. It's like, I'm not saying you need to switch the whole system, but you need a new voice in this room. Like someone who hasn't been there with these weapons. Like, and just because the Lions are making the move or they've put it in the ether doesn't mean you have to just automatically like it. Like that's like, and people do that. People who cover the team, fans, Twitter trolls, Jeff, like people just automatically, anything they do, they just bow down to it and kiss the Lions' feet. And they're like, yes, until it's bad. And then they go at them and they get mad at the Lions. It's an never ending cycle that I want to just run away. I don't ever want to see it again. It's the worst cycle of all time, dude.
Well, it's if you're Dan Campbell, right? And Dan Campbell said it himself. We want competition. We want, we're going to bring some guys in. If you really want competition, all right, because I agree with you. Like Kelvin Shepard, people are like, well, he just has to change his system. Dude, he tweaked the system from Aaron Glenn. So we're tweaking an already tweaked system. So we're double tweaking a system. Now it sounds like we don't really know what we're doing. That's what it sounds like.
Now you're just tweaking too much.
Now you're just tweaking and tweaking. The other thing is
you're double tweaking the system.
Now you're just double tweaking. You're already.
It's like when you're trying to unravel something and it's like, oh, you ravel it up even worse, dude. Yeah. Like this is bad.
No, it's just. But if you're Dan Campbell, you want competition. How about you bring in a new set of eyes that doesn't owe any of these guys nothing? That dude, the new DC would come in.
I'm with you, dude.
I don't owe any of you dudes compete. Like Calvin already, these guys have been in the building. They have some of their, even though Calvin's going to say we're going to compete, best will play. Bring in a dude if Brian Flores walked in this building, he'd be like, your ass, you're starting, your ass. To walk around, start command and respect. All right. That's what I want in this locker room. Be like, all right, you're getting paid $30 million, but you're not good enough, so you're not playing. You will play Aiden Hutchinson. You will play Jack Campbell. I just want some dude to come in here and just, no one's owed anything. All right, no one's owed a damn thing. So sick of it. Absolutely sick.
Dude, is never mind. I'm just not going to bring that up. I'm just not going to.
By the way, I tried telling you guys. I was waiting on this. James Pierce had 10.5 freaking sacks this year as a rookie. Guys, I really tried. How much time do we spend on Mock Draft Monday? We talk about James Pierce a lot. I laid it all on the line. I was Jimmy Butler against the Lakers, man. I was leaning up against, gave it my all trying to sell James Pierce, and he had to trade up to get him. That guy would have been way better. I'll tell you what. You wouldn't be talking about an edge right now. You'd be like, oh, yeah, we got the future next to Hutch.
Well, now
we're questioning if Tyreek Williams can play ball. We're still wondering.
The James Pierce, let me ask you this. Where did he go?
Atlanta.
But
as the number one guy.
Did they trade up, though, I'm saying, to get him?
They traded.
Could you have actually have gotten him, though, is my question. Because I know the Lions did try to trade up. I know that for a fact. Remember that there was that whole conversation where they just didn't want to give up so much. And then I think it was Atlanta that ended up moving up and giving up a couple first.
So James Pierce went 26. You picked 28.
So I think, and correct, someone correct me if I'm wrong. By the way, do you see this thing on my hand? Do you see this?
Yeah, what the hell?
I told you the story about this morning. Right? I forgot about that.
Group chat, yeah.
Dude, I don't want to get us off track. I took 3 steps outside today in the ice. I've never fallen so hard in my life. Like, when I tell you, it wasn't like I caught myself or anything. I looked like I got hit by J.J. Watt taken down. Bro, I ate it. And I had a full coffee in my hand. The whole coffee gone. It was all over. And then I got this blister, bro. It's like blood. I was shaken up. I got up, looked around. It was dark out. No one was. It was like
you're talking about a damn blister, and Taylor Decker played with no shoulder.
Listen. Shout out Taylor Decker, man. The blister doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. I just don't. I'm like, do I pop this thing? And it's just like, I don't know. It's crazy, dude. I just looked down and I'm like, I looked around to see if anyone saw. No one saw. Thank God, dude.
That's a tough scene if people.
Oh. If someone saw, I looked, you know how athletic I looked out there that this morning doing that? I had a backpack on. I was like, oh no. Felt like it was bad.
I'm glad you survived. I'm glad we got you today.
Oh, dude. Imagine I got like hit my head on the concrete, concussion. Boone out 2 weeks.
Dude. On the IR. Out 4 weeks. By the way, ETN, him and Jalen Carter are exactly why you don't fall for personality concerns. Oh, yeah. James Pierce, not our guy. Okay. Not a Lions guy. Guy had 10.5 sacks in Atlanta. Ball player. I'm so I've always been consistent with that. You just bring in talent. Unless you murdered somebody, welcome to the team. Actually, Ray Lewis, maybe we can talk about it. I don't know.
He said actually Ray Lewis, man.
Maybe we can talk about it. If there's no conviction, maybe it's all hearsay. But I'm sick of that too. I'm sick of that shit too, honestly.
But like, at what point? Hey, you have a good culture. At what point it's just like the culture? It will guys will adapt to your culture. And I don't even think like James Pierce. Like, dude, why? I do think there was a world, and I'll say this. I'll give a little credit, Jeff. What I was saying before about my I have fallen, I can't get up story. The whole thing with James Pierce, I'm pretty sure Dan or Brad did try to trade up, and they asked for like a 1st-round pick, and he was like for 2, like, and then that was when Atlanta moved up, and they gave up a 1st, I'm pretty sure, to go up and get James Pierce.
What if it was Shamar Stewart?
Oh my gosh. Did he play at all this year?
Nope. Not
Did
really.
either of those Texas A&M guys play at all?
Oh yeah. I'll tell you what. The guy that we actually didn't mind late 1st, early 2nd, got his name, went to the Panthers. Not Shamar Stewart.
You got this.
Why am I blanking? What's his name? Nick Scorton.
Nick Scorton. Yep.
Yeah, Scorton actually has been playing for the Panthers.
All right.
He's actually playing. He's actually they like him. They like.
Is he
him.
better than Tyleek?
I haven't watched them, but someone said he has 5 sacks, so he's been
Not
productive.
bad. Wow. How about that? More production out of an edge we talked about. What about Mike Green? How did Mike Green do?
I don't think he really. That's another one. I don't know if he had he had 3.5 sacks, so that's not bad.
I actually saw a dirty play from Mike Green.
He didn't play a lot this year. I don't think. I'm not really sure.
The only thing I remember of Mike Green is this final game, Ravens Steelers. Who's the receiver on the Scotty? Is it Scotty Miller? Is he a receiver? Right,
he is
from
a receiver.
Bowling Green. He was blocking, and
but I don't think Bowling.
Scotty Miller went.
I think Scotty Miller's been. I think he's in the league for a little. Like he's a little older. Not old, but
No, I know, but he went to Bowling Green, right?
Yeah. What are you talking about with Mike Green?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Mike Green went to something else. He went to
like Marshall or whatever.
Marshall. What I'm saying though is that game the other night, dude. I saw Scotty Miller blocking someone, brings him towards the line of scrimmage, pancakes the guy, and then he's like going to get up, and Mike Green just helmet right into Scotty's knees. And Scotty got up and grabbed Mike Green, threw him back. Like you could tell, like he was like, "Don't ever go at someone's knees like that ever again." Like, are you stupid? Like that was like the type of like that like I was like, whoa. And they replayed it like 10 times. That was the only Mike Green highlight I've seen all year, is him trying to like end a guy's career going at his knees.
He fell in the draft quite a bit. So there is like the James Pierce one is the only one I'm just pissed off about because he's gonna be.
I would have been more mad if he was available at 28.
They just missed your opportunity. I don't know. I don't know what the trade would have taken, but it was 2 spots.
It was a 1st-round pick. You wouldn't have had one this year. Imagine if you lost to 17th overall pick for
Loki 10.5. Say he's like defensive rookie of the year candidate.
There's no way.
I would. Hey,
come on.
Now I didn't know the team would be bad this year, so maybe that obviously hindsight 2020. Now you have like a top 15 pick, but at the time I would have been like James Pierce for the next 5 years on a rookie deal. Oh, him and Hutch for the next 5 years, dude. Oh, so whatever. It's fine. It's
on a rookie deal is, I think, the biggest thing.
Yeah,
too, man.
that's like your Will Anderson and
Danielle Hunter.
Danielle Hunter. Not that he's
Daniil.
Will Anderson, but like that type of you got that type of 1-2 punch coming off the edge. Athletic. Dude, James is just okay. We're done. We'll move on because now I'm just getting pissed off.
Yeah, this is bad road to go down.
So Jeremy Fowler of ESPN put out his little insider notes. He calls it his head coach carousel and coordinator intel document where he kind of writes little notes on every team. We can look at any team you'd like. I have like kind of a summary, like a tweet that kind of highlights some things, and then I'll tell you what he said about the Detroit Lions. So he put this is some of the interesting points on that sheet. He wrote signs point to Todd Bowles returning to the Bucs, possibly with a new OC in additions to defensive staff. Kyler Murray may start next season for Cardinals' new head coach.
That's
Dolphins
insane.
not expecting change with Mike McDaniel. That's interesting to me. I feel like with all the coaches available.
Did you hear the rumor today? Or not a rumor, I guess it was a report that Dolphins reached out about John Harbaugh.
Like, dude, John Harbaugh's available? Like, you got it.
They reached out to him. The Dolphins did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, and they saw 9 teams. So I think there's like 6 openings. 9 teams reached out to John. 9. That means there's 3 current teams that have their head coach already that are like behind their head coach's back calling like, hey,
did the Raiders?
I'm guessing all 6 that are available did. And because I saw today, they'll report that 9 different teams reached out to him, to his camp.
Interesting.
So you would guess all 6 openings. Like if you're open and you don't reach out to him, you're probably an incompetent organization.
I agree with you, T. I think he lands with the Giants.
And I think that's a great spot for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot.
They'll be good next year.
Quarterback. You got young players in general. He's a teacher.
Good defense. Good weapons on the defense too.
It says Jesse Minter could fit with the Ravens. Michigan man. He's going to be he's a head coaching candidate. He could go to the Ravens. Could be interesting there. You know what's messed up? I just realized this. Well, not just realized. I saw it and it made me realize. The Ravens had Mike McDonald on the staff last year.
I was just going to bring that up.
2 years.
2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. Is that a job, Jeff? You leave the Seahawks for?
Oh, that dude. I mean, that Ravens job. You have Lamar Jackson.
But I'm saying for him, because I don't even think just with Lamar. I just think in the Ravens' history, they've only had 3 head coaches. So it's like if you're a head coach of the Raiders or the Ravens,
I think the Seahawks is a really good organization too. But
it's like with the Steelers. Like if you have like a job somewhere in the league right now, and then the Steelers opens up and they offer it to you, you probably move because they've only had a handful of coaches, and it's like a very, very elite job.
Honestly, I like Brian Flores with the Ravens too. I think that's interesting.
I just think the thing with Brian Flores is he's already been a head coach. I know that all this stuff that happened and he lost his job. I think they're trying to look for like their next long term. I don't know if like a guy who's already been fired, you want to be.
Yeah, you know what I think they want to. I don't know. It says a lot of defensive guys for the Ravens. I would think what's best for them is probably an offensive guy for Lamar. I think that's
fair point.
I don't know with how the league is. I mean, I think that'd probably be interesting, but yeah, they messed up.
What offensive guy
Clint
could go there?
Kubiak they'll probably interview. I know Clint Kubiak's supposed to interview. I think there's other teams that want him. That's why, like, if for the Lions, like they shouldn't rush any of this shit. And I know they're thinking this too. Wait for the playoffs. There's so many assistants on these teams that you can bring in and interview. Like you could look at a Rams assistant. Maybe Mike LaFleur doesn't want to be an OC. Maybe he's taking it, but maybe it's someone on that staff.
What's that the other guy that they had put up there?
That guy someone who's heavily involved in the offense. And I'm not just saying like, hey, you work under Sean, you're the OC, but someone with a little more of a resume. Maybe you can. I'm telling you one thing. At least you'd have more experience with that player or that coach than David Blau. Okay, at least they would be.
I just can't see a world, man. Like, you know what? I'm actually surprised that the fact that Brad came from LA with, Sean McVay and same with Jared, like they've seen all of this firsthand with Sean McVay. Why, like, they haven't told Dan or like thought about going after one of those younger assistants to be an OC. I'm shocked, to be honest. It's actually
it's interesting.
With those connections and they both have been in that building forever.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, they haven't brought in a single staff member. I don't think there's a single staff member that's been a part of LA. I know that Aubrey Pleasant went to LA.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Aubrey Pleasant apparently is getting a lot of shine. I see a lot of talk about him.
He did last offseason too, man.
So it's and then Deshae Townsend over here is just apparently he's the worst coach on planet Earth. Maybe we start having some talk of maybe it's more than just the secondary.
No, don't say that. Come on now.
Maybe what's going on with we gotta hold the players accountable.
You know what side of the ball it really is the problem constantly.
It's always it's on one side.
Hey, but let's stay in house and let's keep the guys all around. That makes sense.
Like Deshae Townsend's gonna get fired for what? For being he was here last year with AG, and all of a sudden he's the biggest problem. And if they fire him, everything's fixed. All right, dude. Whatever, bro. Let's talk about Brad Holmes in a second. Before I show you the rest of what by the way, I just want to read what Jeremy Fowler kind of wrote here. Because it is interesting. And it's something we talked about, but not really talked about. I guess it's good to remind the people. So Jeremy Fowler wrote this on the Detroit Lions on ESPN.com. He wrote, the firing of offensive coordinator John Morton gives head coach Dan Campbell the chance to redefine the Lions offense. The loss of Ben Johnson affected Detroit more than they probably wanted to admit. Campbell opted for continuity with Morton, a Detroit assistant in 2022. And this is a quote from an NFC executive familiar with the Lions. I know Campbell likes calling plays, but they have so many weapons, and that's a coveted job to get a really good play caller in there. An NFC executive familiar with the Lions. So I'll ask the question before we move on. Based on what the NFC executive said, with what you have, this is an enticing enough job. You could go get your Kellen Moore version of that. A dude who's a top, really good OC or really good offensive mind. Or is Dan going to be like, now let's hand over the keys to this Bugatti to little Billy or little David Blau. Let's give over the Bugatti.
Little David Brow.
Little David Brow.
No disrespect, David. I like David Blau. I stuck up for David Blau for years too, by the way.
It sounds, but the point I'm making is inexperienced guy. You want to just hand the Bugatti over to him, or at least without an offensive line, it's probably like we'll go Ferrari. It's like still Ferrari. You want to hand the Ferrari over to David Blau. They should be getting to the executive's point. You should be able to get an established, well-known, well-respected offensive mind. So just think about that, Dan. All right. I know you're not listening, but let's just hypothetically say he is listening. Just think about that.
By the way, Steve Ball said Booner is older than David Blau. How old is David Blau?
I'll tell you right now. David Blau is 30.
We're close. I'm not 30, but I'm a couple years off 30. So me and him we're getting there.
He is 30 years old.
A third. there are OCs out there who are young, but the Bugatti, don't hand the Bugatti keys over to David Blau. Yeah, I'm with you. I just can't see a world, dude. This is the craziest part about this whole thing right now with the offensive coordinator. It's the same thing, Jeff, I think last year with John Morton. I said it yesterday. The fact that it felt like they didn't go through all these interview processes to go actually get the best candidate for the OC last year, where they wanted to, pick someone who was familiar with the offense. It's like that article, like another executive is out there being like, anyone would want to, be the OC for that offense. You essentially, like right now with all of the openings in the NFL, even if almost every single, outside of maybe the Chiefs, like every single OC job was open in the NFL, Jeff, the Lions probably have the most wanted one out of all 32 teams, maybe second or third. You could get anyone you wanted. Anyone. And you're settling for like guys we like. Guys that have been in the building. And I think that's a problem. There's a little bit of a problem, I think, right now in this Lions building and the organization where they do rely a little bit on, and they say it all the time in press conferences, and I'm sure Brad will say it tomorrow, but they do rely a little bit on, do we know this guy's character? Do we know this guy personally? Have we spoke with him? And I do think there's a side of like, yeah, you want to have a connection with the guy and you want to be able to have that relationship, the trust. But there is a point to where it's like, hey, man, like, if you want the best of the best, sometimes you have to make new relationships and ask around a little bit and go out there and make those bigger moves. That's how I look at this OC hire, man. And I would look at it the same way with the DC if Shep isn't returning next year.
Now, Brad Holmes speaks tomorrow to the media. I know everyone's excited for that. We're going to find out. Well, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of things we could find out. I'm curious how the media approaches it. We're going to have one of those guys on today in about 10 minutes, so we'll get to ask him about it. But
here we go.
We're going to find out some things, a lot of things, hopefully, that Brad Holmes needs to answer to. He is on the stand in the court of one pride. I don't know. He's on the stand, though, okay? And he's going to have to answer some very tough questions. I think there's two parts of this I want to get to. One, what are some things you hope Brad Holmes addresses? And comment in the chat. What are some things you want Brad Holmes to answer to? And the other part of that is you could also add, how do you think Brad will actually answer that same question? For example, I want to know why Brad Holmes didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I want to know why he chose to stay pat and not make a single move whatsoever. What I want to happen is Brad Holmes to sit there and be like, you know what? I didn't think we needed to move at the time. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. Seeing where we ended up being as a team, like I probably should have been more aggressive. That is fair. What I know he'll say is there wasn't anybody available that we really liked. It would have been at that point, it was nobody of interest. End of question. It would have just been, it's going to be a quick shutdown of the question, move on. So that's the reality of that part. But I would like to know the trade deadline. That'd be the first thing I want to know tomorrow. Let's ask him. You didn't speak then, so speak now. What do you think?
So we got trade deadline. You want to know what my number one is for tomorrow? Yeah. I want someone to ask him, and I think it's going to get brought up. I think this might be the main point of topic tomorrow. Why he was so confident, or not that he was confident, why he felt like he didn't have to address the offensive line going into this year. And if and like, not just like, hey, why he felt he didn't have to address it. One, why he didn't address it, first of all, why he felt like he didn't have to, but then also, did he actually feel like this offensive line was good enough to win a Super Bowl? Because, and I hope all three of those get asked in those ways, because I think they're all three different questions that you should get different answers in. Because there's no way you could have looked at this offensive line and been like, yeah, like you can really go win a Super Bowl with this O-line. Or two, like going into the offseason, I mean, our job for a living is to break things down and talk about the teams and have these kind of, like, we talked all offseason about how this O-line, the interior, was going to be questionable. And three, it was like, dude, you didn't have anything prepared for Frank leaving. You had nothing at right guard for Kevin Zeitler leaving. I just, in my opinion, it's like that has been the biggest swing and a miss. And I know a lot of people are like, well, like, and I said it like they've built this team through the trenches, Jeff. Brad wasn't really the one that built the offensive line, though. Taylor was already here. Frank was already here. Panay, in my opinion, like, and this is a thing me and you go back and forth a little bit. Like, Panay, you can give him credit, but he did kind of fall into your lap to a sense. So it's just like, yeah, you did, but then like the two real, the left guard and the right guard, the two real positions that your job over the last couple of years was to replace, you never did that. You did with Zeitler for a year, and it was a patch-up deal, and then you just never – you went and drafted a guy and expected a rookie to step in to be one of the best in the league, right? And then the same with center. Like, I think that offensive line question, I think that should be one of the – if not the main point of topic tomorrow, one of the main points of topic tomorrow. Well, that was a tongue twister.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, you got to answer. You got to answer to what the hell you were thinking about before the year, like your confidence level in the offensive line. I mean, what made you get to that? I mean, what was it? I don't. What happened? What crossed your mind? Where was it? The faith in Mahogany after seeing him start in a game or two, and maybe you just convinced yourself that, man, we're gonna have a starting guard making under $1 million. Like, that sounds really nice, but he is a 6th-round pick. Okay, he isn't. We don't know if he's the answer. He's clearly not Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just the reality. Even though Ratledge is technically starting in Zeitler's spot, but Ratledge, we know what it is. He's a 2nd-round pick. I think he's still going to be a good player, but I think Mahogany, like, yeah, the Graham stuff. Like, you how do you go from Frank to Graham and not expect significant regression?
As soon as that happened, you should have like trade something. Like you should have been making major moves, but you should have known that this offensive line was going to take some sort of step back. You lost 2 Pro Bowlers, really 1 All-Pro and 1 Pro Bowler with Zeitler in 1 offseason, and thought, hey, we're going to be fine with a rookie and an older guy who isn't a center. And be like, yeah, we're going to be just
with
fine.
No contingency plan already in place. I mean, you got Ratledge as a rookie, and I guess Mahogany was the contingency plan, I guess. But it's like they didn't have like guys ready to go, like studs. Like, they've been developing for a year or whatever. Mahogany missed like half of last year.
And
didn't play really. He only played 1 game.
He did. He played a handful of snaps. I think he started 1 or 2 games. I would like them to ask the offensive line. I would like them to ask Brad about this offseason with the O-line. What is your plan? I know you don't want to maybe give away strategy or anything, but is your plan to still trust the current guys that are there, or are you going to go out and rebuild an offensive line? Are you going to go out and get vets? Like, how are you going to approach this offseason? Or are you just going to sit pat and be like, we trust our guys are going to get healthy. We're going to move Tate. We're going to, throw Miles Frazier in there. Like, where are you at with that? Because if I hear that, I want them to ask that because I want to hear his answer. Because if he's like, I'm sitting pat, I like what we have, I'm going to be worried. I'm not going to have confidence in the team.
I want to know, there's so many things. But first, I guess there's 2 things I want to bring up. One, draft strategy. The last 2 drafts haven't looked like your prior drafts. What's the thought process that goes through your mind on that? Is there something that you feel like you need to do better, or you and your
That's a great question.
Scouting department, or is this like a self-reflecting thing, or is this just it's just luck of the draw? Like, give him the out and give him the opportunity to be like, you're not always going to hit 100%. You're going to find a guy. I want what I want him to say, or what would be ideal is Brad be like, you know what? It hasn't been good enough. Clearly, hasn't been good enough. I need to do better. My staff needs to do better. And we need to start bringing in ready to play players. And I think even the project side of it should be asked. I think project players, like, I know you had a moment there where you were taking some guys for developmental. What's that approach like this draft? Are you still thinking about developmental players that could help you down the line? Or are you change your mindset because you missed the playoffs? Like, I would like to know what he's kind of thinking with that approach. Also, like, what are you doing free agency wise? Do you think, you guys have filled positions, but actually being aggressive? Dan mentioned it. We already got half of it. Dan said we want to bring in guys to compete. Where are you at, Brad Holmes? Do you want to bring in legit dudes to compete? Or are you bringing in a bunch of $1 million guys that are like back of the roster material that can compete? Are you bringing in dudes?
It's like Dan said, like, I want guys in here that want to compete now, like good players. I think there's a difference between like guys who compete, but then also guys who compete that have the talent. You know what I mean? I feel like they're a little bit, they just brought guys in that could compete, and they were drafting guys in that could compete, but they're like, hey, they're doing it from Western Kentucky, William and Mary, the CFL. And it's like, yeah, they compete, man. They work hard. They just don't have the talent. You need talent.
Like, Steve, aren't all 4th rounders or later developmental? Typically, yes. The issue that I have and I keep seeing is guys keep coming out every year that are drafted 4th and later that are just making an impact.
Yeah.
Kyle Monangai, 7th round running back. Boom, he makes an impact right away. And
we've had guys on this team that are after the 3rd and make impacts for you.
You have 2 that are 4th rounders. You have one guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, clearly, who's a 4th rounder. But even if you look around the league, guys are drafted. It's a lesser hit rate. Typically, they are developmental, but you could still find dudes. I just don't want to. Point I'm making is, I don't want to draft Giovanni Manus, Broderick Martins,
Colby
Sorsdals. Like, dudes were like, okay,
Where did Giovanni Manu go to college, Jeff?
British Columbia.
I was hoping you would say you don't know, but I forgot you're a Geo guy.
But it's like, but that's the point.
Exactly though. British Columbia.
He was
is that college? I thought that's a state. I thought that's a country. What is that? What's British Columbia?
He was blocking me and you out there. He looked like a giant compared to the guys he was playing against. I mean, it's just a fact. Madden, appreciate the 5th. I think Dan saying he wants guys to come in and compete is actually him calling Brad out a bit.
Then I said that the other day. I said I felt like when Dan said that the other day, I felt like Dan was like a little pissed off about what he had.
That's fair. He might have been. By the way, Malcolm Rodriguez 6th round. Forgot about that one.
There we go.
Also, yeah, I was a hooker guy. That one.
Oh, that's all right. Listen, again, you know how I feel.
Yeah, I don't mind taking risks on
quarterbacks. I'm fine with. I'm not going to be mad at QBs.
Let's bring in our good friend who covers the Detroit Lions, content creator, live streamer, podcast host. He's got a lot of takes, and he joins us every single Wednesday to get them all out. John Maakaron, publisher of Detroit Lions on SI. John, how we doing?
Happy New Year, everybody. It's the first appearance of 2026. Lots to talk about, right?
2020. This is the first appearance of the DOC in 2026. I mean, this is just. And Doc, I feel like you're joining. I mean, that we always say this to you a lot. It's a perfect. You're joining us at a perfect time because we always get you the information giver when we need information. So this is where it perfectly aligns. Where the people are waiting for you, Doc. And the first question I have to ask you, the most relevant, John Morton. Officially out of there, Doc. We knew how this was going to go, essentially. But can I just get your thoughts on your reaction to it? I'm sure Booner will ask, and we'll follow up with the David Blau stuff. But just John Morton and him basically being let go. And a part of that I want to ask you is why hasn't anyone else on that staff been let go, Doc? Just John Morton.
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to say Happy New Year to all the chat. You guys have a great community. A lot of them also follow me now on the Lone Wolves Detroit Lions podcast. So it means a lot to me to be, I've always wanted to be really a regular guest on someone's show. And listen, John Morton, it was an epic disaster. I don't think it took that much evaluation to see that things went south. In training camp, you guys were covering it daily. I covered it daily. And what were we saying? The offense wasn't looking right. The interior of the offensive line wasn't executing well. And right away, you had a whole offseason with John Morton to prepare for the Packers game. And that Packers game was eye-opening. It was dysfunctional. I had to ask Dan Campbell, like, hey, go back to your other offense. I don't know what that was that you showcased to the world, but that wasn't Ben Johnson's offense. And supposedly, this dude put that offense in there. It was horrible. Now, luckily, they rebounded against the Bears, and they went along through the year, but you started to see trends that weren't good. And I'm so thankful that I had a critical eye with John Morton. I did say on this show that I felt like the coordinators would not be a narrative because of all the talent. But in the end, John Morton turned a Ferrari into a Pinto. And with my critical eye, I said, okay, why did John Morton get fired from the Jets? And it was interesting. Another beat writer had posted, I am really surprised that the Lions' run game is so drastically different. I'm like, why are you surprised? It's printed right here on ESPN. John Morton corrupted the Jets' run game and pissed off Todd Bowles, and he got fired after 1 year. It's in big, bold letters if you found it. So it was clear, and I shared it multiple times. John Morton passed off the run game to Hank Fraley and to Tashard Choice, and it was a disaster. And with the offensive line struggling, look, guys, you guys know, the moment that John Morton lost the team is when he stands up there and blames the team. And then right away, Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker are pointing the fingers right back. It's a different vibe where Calvin Shepard is calling players out publicly, but also taking more accountability. John Morton got a little better, but he lost the team. And listen, it's tried and true. It's now, we know, 2 for 2. If Mr. Dan Campbell strips you of play calling, he gone. And so everybody knew it wasn't the right fit. It was a bad choice. It's a bad stain on Dan Campbell. That was the guy that you brought in when you're in a Super Bowl window in a win now kind of mode. bad mistake to go from, especially the optics, to go from Ben Johnson genius to John Morton inexperience in regards to being an OC and being a successful OC. He is, and first and foremost, I want to say this. John Morton is a great football mind. He's not an OC. And this place is not a place where you're going to learn on the job. I don't care. This is not the place. This is win now town. And for John Morton, I would have thought maybe he could have stayed and been an advisor or been somebody like a senior offensive assistant. But in the end, I think Dan Campbell saw enough. The offense regressed in many ways, especially on third down, fourth down. It was just not the right fit. It was a bad hire. And Dan Campbell, the reason why it was the rest of the coaching staff, he's going through and watching film and making a tough decision. John Morton was the easiest decision he made. It took him less than 72 hours to make it. Everybody knew. Everybody knew once he got stripped of the play calling, it was a wrap. I would have did it on Monday. But for John Morton, it was not the right fit. Bad timing for him to be an inexperienced OC here in Detroit. And Dan Campbell took care of the problem pretty quickly.
Yeah, Doc, I also do want to ask kind of next steps of the process here. The David Blau stuff comes out. You see it so many, and I feel like we all have the same feeling. There's so many offensive, head coaches and as well as assistants out there that are available, and the head coaches that have been getting fired. If you're Doc, if you are Dan Campbell, how are you approaching this offseason when it does come to the offensive side of the ball? Something I actually went to go tweet this out today, Doc. I actually just saved it in my drafts because I was like, I'm just going to wait. I thought I had like the Todd Monken thing, him obviously not being on the Ravens staff as of right now. If David Blau doesn't get an OC job in this cycle, I don't see why you wouldn't. If you are going to, interview him for the OC job, why wouldn't you, if he doesn't get a job like that, bring him as a pass game coordinator or bring him as an offensive assistant, bring Todd Monken in, and then you're able to develop. If you really like David Blau, you're able to develop him for a year or two. And if Todd Monken gets a head coaching job or whatever it is, you have David Blau sitting in the wings there ready to go. That was like my first thought. I went to go tweet that maybe earlier this morning, and I was like, I don't know if it's time yet to throw this one out there, and I just wanted to wait a little bit. But I feel like that's like best case scenario for Lions fans. What would you do if you're Dan Campbell, though?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But now, listen, man, I respect your thoughts. You guys are spot on in a lot of your assessments. But look, David Blau knows Jared Goff. He's a rising mind, but he cannot land this offensive coordinator job. 2 years of total coaching experience. I just don't think that that's enough experience to say that you're going to match wits with Brian Flores, Mike Vrabel, the great minds out there. I just don't see it. And I would respect that if he comes into the organization and develop here, that's fine. That would be great. And I get why. He was here. He understands Dan Campbell. He understands Jared Goff. But this is not a place where you learn, period. This is a place where you need to come in, hit the ground running as soon as possible, get this offensive line gelling and the run game in order. And this is, guys, listen, you can be a slappy fan all you want and just keep saying next year over and over, but 2026 is win now mode. You have a core in place. You're paying your quarterback $50 million. You're giving all these guys extensions. Bottom line, 2026 is the year you put it all together and figure it the F out. Let's go already. This is year 6. This is sports. This is not your favorite best friend that you're going to get a blankie with. You win or you move on. That's the NFL. That's how the cycle goes. So to me, like you guys said just before I hopped on, the draft picks have to be people that compete for jobs, not people that compete to see who sits on the bench the longest. No more red shirts, and you're absolutely right. Now, Monken is, and this is where I get, challenged because I do like experience, but the guys that have the most experience are north of 50 years old. So I can understand where there's the fine line of experience that's done it before and those that are older like John Morton, Anthony Lynn. That hasn't worked. Ben Johnson was right there in a perfect sweet spot. So that lends to the idea of David Blau, but I just need him. I feel like, okay, maybe in a couple of years you could get the most out of him, but not this year. So there's a name maybe that has a little bit more experience, but not much. Davis Webb out of Denver, who has experience with Sean Payton, is the pass game coordinator, is more of a prototypical quarterback that resembles Jared Goff. So keep that name in mind. But I just would say Monken has been kind of known to work with more mobile quarterbacks throughout his tenure. And if you read a little deeper, I was reading about Monken because I read that name when all the beat writers were like Monken. I was like, okay, maybe they're saying that because of the fact that Linderbaum, you have a little tie, and maybe you get the tie to get the free agent here. But by and large, the reports out of Baltimore were that John Harbaugh fell on the sword to protect his guy, Todd Monken. They were saying that, the game plans that were put together were adjusted fast, and the players were getting a little unruly and unhappy with Todd Monken.
He got a lot of flack for abandoning the run at times. I'm just going to say.
Exactly. So I'm out on Todd Monken. I reveal my bias. I've met the man. I think that he fits the mold of what the Lions would look for. And all I can do is share my experience is that Dan Campbell has openly laughed with Brian Daboll. They're very close. They've worked together before. Daboll likes to establish the run, has experience as a head coach. I think he's more suited as a coordinator, and I do think he could adapt quickly to work with Jared Goff. I've had a couple talks with him at joint practices. He's not the most friendly in terms of in front of the camera, but when the camera is away, very thoughtful. And I've had conversations with him talking ball a little bit. It's definitely more fun to talk to away from the cameras. And listen, I can't lie. Spartan Dog that's been working under Nick Saban, that's always a touch of greatness as well. And I just think that, listen, the offensive coordinator has to be able to scheme well, has to be able to put the run game back together, and has to work with Dan Campbell. And I just think the combination of, I think Daboll can call plays proficiently enough so that Dan Campbell can do the job. Now, there's other options as well. I'm not going to fall on the sword for Brian Daboll. I'm just being biased. He's a Spartan Dog, and any Spartan Dog, I think, would have some greatness. And hey, I posted the picture. Look at how big the smile was with Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell wasn't smiling that big working with John Morton. And I'm of the opinion that you find somebody that has previous experience. Now, there's another name too. It's intriguing, but he's a little older. Mike McCarthy's interesting in that he's had numbers. Listen. Proof's in the pudding. He's not a sexy name, but he's built offenses that have been ranked in the top 10. The numbers showcase, because I dove into it because a young reporter put it out there, a young radio guy put it out there, Ben Boschler, I think a great radio host. He said, listen, look at those numbers. He's worked with Aaron Rodgers, worked with quarterbacks that he worked with Dak, and puts together decent offenses throughout the course of his career. Now, the problem with McCarthy is that in certain moments, fourth down, certain high pressure moments, his calls are crazy and maybe not in line with what Dan Campbell would do. But, those are names to look at. I think all the names that I do think you cast a wide net and you get as much information as possible as to who's going to be the best fit for Jared Goff and this offense. It's a Ferrari. And you can't give it to a kid because the kid will crash the Ferrari. But you also don't want to give it to an older person that's too old, because then the Ferrari won't ever get out of the garage. It'll just sit there looking all shiny but never do anything. So John Morton ruined it for all the old people. Anthony Lynn ruined it for all the old people, because you wonder, man, are they connecting with the players? Are they exotic enough in their scheme development? So I just wish that David Blau had like 10 more years experience and was 40 years old. So we'll see. Now, would you guys risk it and stay internal like a Hank Fraley or a Scotty?
That's what I was going to ask you, Doc, because I get a lot of questions about that.
I don't think so. I don't think, I don't know if Hank Fraley would get, look, he was put in charge of the run game. Were you impressed with the scheme that was put together? No. I don't think that he handled the promotion that he got or the responsibility that he got in the run game to that degree. Scotty Montgomery's intriguing because he does have a great connection with the running backs and also the wide receivers. That's a name to pay attention to. I do think there's a lot of trust. He has been groomed, and I do think he'll be well respected. So in-house, I think you rank it. No chance on David Shaw. I think that Scotty Montgomery might be a guy you take a chance with because he's now seen it. He's seen it now in depthly for a couple years, what Dan Campbell likes. I would be more comfortable with that than a David Blau, but I do think he will put forth a good effort to interview. So keep in mind Scotty Montgomery if they stay in-house.
Yeah, Doc, I want to ask you, because you mentioned some of the offensive staff, and I'm curious if Dan decides to keep other guys on the offensive staff. I know in general we'll get to Calvin Shepard because I want to hear your thoughts on that, but is there anyone else on the staff that you think could be at risk? I know Corey Woods joined the show and he was mentioning Deshae Townsend because the secondary's been awful. Which is, I think, ironic because last year he was here with AG. They kept him another year, and all of a sudden he's the problem. I think he's going to be the scapegoat probably. But is there anyone else you expect to be on the hot seat in terms of just on the staff? And you could throw Kelvin on there. What do you think what happens with Kelvin Shepherd?
Yeah, no doubt. And I do respect a lot of the comments in the chat. I do like the name Bobby Slowick as well. It's a great name to pay attention to. We'll see. We shall see. Go to Lions NSI. We have a list of like 8-9 names that are potentially interested. Some people are doing 10, 15, but I would just say cast a wide net. That's most important. And listen, again, in regards to the offensive coordinator, it's very important that the number one thing is Dan Campbell does not call plays. The team, you plugged one hole with him calling plays and you opened up 3 more because the team wasn't as disciplined. Now, look, to me, I thought that coaching staff maybe wasn't as good this year. I would move on from Deshae Townsend, get a new cornerbacks coach. I feel like the defensive backs were okay, but I mean, there was so much miscommunication in man-to-man and in zone that it just didn't really ever get to the point where it was proficient. So I do think Calvin keeps his job. Listen, it's a little bit, it would be cold-hearted in the fact that it is true that the Lions had a lot of injuries. And I think Dan Campbell would factor that in. He's going to take a long look and realize, okay, there is potential for growth with Calvin Shepherd, and there's a plan in place. I don't know if they would abandon it after 1 year. I'm willing to. I'm gonna brum out the whole coaching staff and start over and see if you can get a Kevin Stefanski, Jim Schwartz kind of staff in place. That's a super. But see, Dan Campbell dropped a hint, guys. You listen. He said, maybe I'll call plays because I don't have to worry about my play caller shopping himself around for a job. So that was a little nugget of like, man, it was a little tough knowing that we put all that investment in Ben Johnson and he ends up taking
that's the ultimate advantage, by the way, if you're head coach,
right?
Ultimate advantage.
Right. So listen, I do think that, I'm also of the opinion Hank Fraley didn't do a good job this year. Like I thought the offensive line did not gel properly. Penei Sewell said that he felt like he didn't have a good season. I felt like Graham Glasgow was put in positions to fail and Christian Mahogany was okay, but at times struggled and got clearly beat in some moments. And then Taylor Decker. So you're also put in a tough spot because Taylor Decker was dealing with injury. Graham Glasgow is an older veteran. You have 2 younger offensive linemen you're trying to groom. So I just think that everybody's got a hand in the reason why the Lions finished with a 9-8 record. So you look at everybody, and I would say that the safeties coaches did a decent job. You felt like the replacements, Thomas and Harper, did a decent job, and Avonte Maddox was in position for a lot of the stuff that was going on. So I like the safeties coach. He did a good job. I feel like the linebackers coach earned his spot. I feel like they played well, but at times late in the year could have played better. So I just think that you need more from the established coaches. And I don't think, and listen, continuity is very important in the National Football League, but I think you make tweaks. I think maybe Deshae Townsend might be on the hottest seat.
Yeah, Doc, what's obviously like the hottest topic of them all? Everyone's kind of sitting and waiting about the Kelvin Shepherd thing. Where do you stand on that? How do you feel about it? Jeff and I have been pretty vocal the last week or so about that. We feel like they need to go out and get a veteran and a very well-known DC, someone who's been there and who has done that, because this defense has been, I'm going to say, like extremely bad, but you just haven't had an elite defense since Dan's been here. Where are you at with this whole defensive situation in Kelvin Shepherd?
And by the way, Doc, like me and Booner have been talking about the Kelvin Shepherd thing. Feels like we're now in the minority. Felt like at the beginning people wanted, now people are, I guess, more and more wanting him to stay for another year, which I think you would agree, Doc. I know you talked about it. I don't think they can afford to keep grooming him. And
right.
And by the way, and am I crazy for as the days go by? It feels like he stays. I mean, they haven't gotten rid of him yet, so I feel like
I feel like first and foremost, you have to also wait and see if some of these playoff teams this first weekend who advances. You can only talk to so many people. If a defensive coach from Houston falls through or down the stretch, you have opportunities to wait and see. I do think that Kelvin Shepherd for the first year did an okay job, but not the best job. And I don't think he's year 2 going to be the best option to get you to a Super Bowl in 2026. But, again, they have a plan. There is some level of continuity. You also, are going to have Ennis Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold back. You hope that at some point, hopefully Kirby Joseph comes back. And the defense at some points was playing well. So I do think Dan Campbell will give him some more grace. But I'm of the opinion of what you guys are saying. More experience. Sometimes you got to make tough choices. And in my opinion, don't you think a Jim Schwartz is a little bit better than a Kelvin Shepherd? I do. I do think that there's opportunities to get some more aggressive defensive coordinators here. And, I just think that a Raheem Morris won a Super Bowl, has a Super Bowl ring with the Rams. So there's some tie there. But, they had a plan. They are loyal to a fault. And at the same token, I do think that, whether to what degree you would value it, Kelvin Shepherd gets the excuse that there was injuries. It's hard to rate someone when you lose Terry and Arnold and his Rakestraw, and your general manager signs guys that are injury prone and then get injured and then don't play on the field, and you lose Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. That's going to change how your defense looks. And I do think that he'll get sort of a pass. So my opinion is 85% that Kelvin Shepherd returns. But if there's a guy that gets eliminated from the postseason that just absolutely is a standout, wow, let's make him an offer. Maybe it happens, but I doubt. I think you see Kelvin Shepherd earn year 2, because everybody that I talked to about Kelvin Shepherd, including Mekhi Wingo, who I talked to at Locker Room Cleanout, they all said, and read it on Lions on SI, he's like, as he grows with us, we're all going to get better. And the belief is that, the players really respect him, and that he's a guy that the players really, really want to fight for. So that goes a long way with Dan Campbell. Why do you think John Morton was fired so fast? The players probably said in the exit interviews, yeah, we probably don't need John Morton here anymore.
Yeah, which, I don't deny that. I think the thing that frustrates me the most, Doc, is people bring up injuries, which, again, I'm not going to say injuries don't have an effect. But I think the issue I have with it is there's a defensive coordinator in the NFC who dealt with even more injuries and did a better job in Robert Saleh. And
sure.
He didn't have a Jack Campbell, best linebacker in football. Actually, his Jack Campbell broke his ankle. He didn't have an Aiden Hutchinson. His Aiden Hutchinson, Nick Bosa, tore his ACL. I think it was an ACL. He had, and their first round pick tore his ACL. So he had nobody on that defense. And I know they weren't a great defense, but he put it together, kept it together. And guess what? Robert Saleh will get a head coaching interview. Like, they know he's good. And I know people are like, well, that's not fair comparing Robert Saleh to Kelvin Shepherd. I mean, that's where you are as a contending team. You want a guy that's top of the, very good at what he does. So I think when people bring up the injuries, Doc, I think I'm just getting over it, man. Like,
yeah.
AG had half the roster dead last year, and you were at least top 5, top 10 in some categories. I mean, you weren't even top. The only thing you were top 10 in was, I think they were top 12 was third down defense. And I don't know about you, I've seen a lot more third and longs getting converted than any other team. I don't know how that makes any sense. So the injuries, I can't do it, Doc. I'm over the injuries.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. This is what my reasoning would be if they keep him in regards to how a team would evaluate Kelvin Shepherd. Absolutely. I posted on X, Kelvin should be fired right when Addison was scampering to the end zone. I'm like, what the hell? I'm over that. Overall, my opinion is the same as yours and everybody else's would be. The defense was not good enough to help the team, and the team as a whole didn't play complementary football. The team against the run was really atrocious. They did not master the different schemes that he put out there. I mean, they waited until, and the biggest thing is that in-game adjustments, he acknowledged that wasn't the best. He went in with a plan, and then opponents were able to pick apart that plan pretty easily, and then there was not enough adjustments by Kelvin Shepherd, and that will come with experience. The issue with Robert Saleh, he's running a different thing. He runs a zone defense. Kelvin Shepherd is tasked with, by order of Dan Campbell, run man-to-man more. Now, he adapted and tried to, but you didn't have the proper people to be able to teach it. And with the practice, also, two guys, remember, the Lions probably would have benefited from a different type of schedule. Having a 3-day week to prepare is never going to be good to get your guys in order when you have all these injuries. And you had it a couple times. That was just unfortunate to have it on Thanksgiving, and you get the full week of prep for the Cowboys. But then on Christmas, that was just winging it. Literally, you're not practicing. You're just walking through. So he gets the benefit of the doubt. I do think that in certain cases, this is why everybody is anticipating Brad Holmes talking, is that we are all willing to move faster, and the Lions have a longer leash for certain people. And I do think Kelvin Shepherd is one of those guys where he'll earn the opportunity in year 2, but he may be somebody halfway through the year. If it's not working out, you go in a different direction. But yeah, it's a win now mentality in my heart, and I think everybody else's heart. But the Lions have a little bit of loyalty to some of their guys that they want to develop. They want, like, I truly believe Dan Campbell sees a head coach in Kelvin Shepherd and wants to foster that and nurture that in that system. And I do think that they believe sometimes just to keep your job, you just need the bosses to believe that you're the right guy for the job. And I do think that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have an upper level of belief that with learning, with more talent, and revamping a defensive line with guys that can actually stay healthy, that Kelvin Shepherd will put together a defense that's better than in year one. And I do think that will happen. But the biggest question is, can he take the leap to out-scheme a Sean McVay or an offensive wizard? That's to be key. And I don't know if he can do that in the postseason. That's a risk. It's a risk to keep Kelvin Shepherd, especially where all of us in 2026, outside of the slappies that love everything and everything is rosy green, 2026 is win a Super Bowl or I'm hopping off this whole regime, in my opinion.
Yeah, Doc, one thing I do want to ask you, obviously tomorrow Brad Holmes speaks to the media. What are some things that Jeff and I just talked about some of the things that we wanted to hear from Brad, offensive line, obviously trade deadline, different things like that. What are you going to ask? Or I guess you don't have to say what you're going to ask, but more so, what are you kind of looking for to hear from Brad Holmes tomorrow? Since no one's heard from him, obviously, since training camp. It's been such a long time. He didn't speak after the trade deadline. Like, what do you want to know? What do you want to hear from him?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the blessing of having a guy like me there is I don't have to sit back and put context into everything. The last question that was asked to Brad Holmes was from yours truly. And you know what I asked him? I asked him, go back and look in August. And I said, Brad, why is this team a Super Bowl team? And he answered it. And the second he answered it, I said, I don't like his answer. The second he answered it, I said, I don't like it. I don't like his answer at all. It didn't sell me. It didn't instill anything of confidence. Now, luckily, Ray Agnew at those end of training camp sessions sits next to him. At least he tried to sell it. And I posted it the second he uttered his response. I said, he ain't selling me that this team is winning a Super Bowl. So that was some context into why I was so critical this year. Brad Holmes couldn't even sell me on an easy layup question why this team could win a Super Bowl. And then the moves throughout the year and how the team played. Like I said, I went up and down the roller coaster like everybody else, but I felt around the Rams and the Eagles that against good teams, it doesn't appear that you're playing all that well. So no, I don't have to hide. The question that everyone wants to know that I would ask them is directly, it's about the Super Bowl. The team regressed. Obviously, you have a strategy of draft and develop. That's key. Do you think you're going to make some major drastic changes to include free agency and trades and modify your draft strategy so this team can stop regressing? Do you feel like those kind of changes have to be implemented to win a Super Bowl? It's all going to be Super Bowl talk. Why did the free agency period go that way? Why did the trade deadline go that way? Why do you still believe Jared Goff leads you to a Super Bowl? Why do you believe draft and develop is a strategy to win a Super Bowl? Is 2026 a year you're going to put your stamp on this team and win a Super Bowl? That's going to be my every question that is going to come out of my mouth is going to have the word Super Bowl in it, because this is like, regimes don't get. Now, I know Lions regimes get all these years, but the fan base is growing unsettled, and I'm very comfortable that the fans are opening their eyes and going, wait a minute, pay this off. Like, we don't like being teased. And I am thankful that the slappies get to shut up for a couple months and they'll wake back up in the draft, and every draft pick will be amazing. But at least it stared them in the face that this team wasn't built right. The philosophy wasn't right. And the decisions made weren't right. Top to bottom, Dan Campbell was forthright and honest. He got an F, and Brad Holmes got an F-, in my opinion, in the job that he did. The 23-24 draft should have given you enough depth to overcome the injuries that you had. Now Brad Holmes owes me the 23 Super Bowl and the 25 Super Bowl. The team, even if they win in 26, in the end, you should have been able to put a better run together than this. And there's a lot of reasons for it. And the blessing is a lot of the fans were right. You had a player opposite of Aiden, but you didn't have enough depth. And I shared on X too. In an 8-game stretch in the middle of the season, when it was up, down, up, down, up, down, Aiden had 3 sacks total. So Al-Quadin Muhammad, if he tries to pull that, Al-Quadin had 11 sacks, you only had him in 7 games. It wasn't consistent. And the idea is you cannot just have one guy opposite of Aiden balling out. The reason we all wanted the team to get more is against better opponents, maybe more than Al-Quadin could get a sack, more than Aiden. Maybe a guy like Mekhi Wingo or a guy like Josh Pasco if he's healthy. Maybe a guy like Marcus Davenport can stop the run. Maybe a guy like Levi Onwuzurike. If they didn't make all those critical mistakes, it is what happened in 2025 is easy to figure out. I want him to say it and say it honestly. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Little mistakes piled up. Started with Hendon Hooker, Broderick Martin, that 23 draft in the second half. The 24 draft is not looking impactful. The 25 draft, clearly, and where the Slappies never understood, it was clear to see Brad Holmes never spoke into a microphone with his words, "We're good." He never said it. The fans figured out pretty quickly and kept pushing back. But even though these reporters have no ability to think critically or second level thinking, Brad Holmes acted like this team was good. He drafted projects. He drafted guys that weren't competing to start. And so when you have 4, 5, 6 guys that don't play for you, when you have 4, 5, 6 injuries, they don't get replaced in depth and you collapse, you regress. So the idea is it's clear to see. I just want him to say it. What happened in 2025 was the culmination of the we're good draft and develop strategy failing when you don't add enough free agents, when you don't add enough draft picks that you're supposedly so great at, when you don't draft enough of them and you start miss after miss after miss after miss. You named off 5 before I got here. Mekhi Wingo, Hendon Hooker, Broderick Martin, Colby Sorsdahl, Ennis Rakestraw, no impact. Terrion Arnold, limited impact. That's 6 players. When you're not hitting, and Giovanni Manu, when you're not hitting, this is the formula for regression. He thought his plan was good. It was not good. In order for this team to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion, this team needs to have an aggressive, drastic, bold free agency strategy, sign people that are better than the guys you drafted, draft better, stop drafting projects, stop targeting people with an injury history. And when it's time to put together trades, you can't just make 1. You need to make 3. Be bold across the board. The strategy should be, I am never happy. I need as much talent as possible to get this team over the hump. And so I felt like that they got too much in love with their own drafted guys. And they said, well, the rest of the strategy, we are going to not put as much into. And guess what happened? You get injuries over 2 years. You don't have enough depth and you regress. And you get your quarterback nearly killed. You should have had a better offensive line plan. You should have had a better plan in the draft than you did. And he needs to say that in a much more calm way than I'm saying it. But we all, guys, the blessing of this community that you guys built is you guys know ball. You guys are not trying to sit here and hide and cover your eyes and just make up shit to be happy. You guys talk ball. I wouldn't come on here if you guys were and your fans were slappies. You're willing to acknowledge what happened, and it's all laid out there for everybody to see. And I just want him to acknowledge it, respectfully say, okay, we got here. He can say, we got here through our plan. Now to get to the next level, we got to change. If he doesn't say the word adapt, change, the regime's over. You're just going to do more of the same nonsense, and you're going to go nowhere.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be funny because he might get asked about the edge position again, Doc, because AQM is a free agent. And even then, I mean, AQM, we know what it was. The stats are going to tell a different story than what our eyeballs saw throughout the season. Davenport should not come back. But we were talking earlier about James Pierce in Atlanta. He went 2 picks before the Lions, and he has 10.5 sacks as a rookie. We're going to be right back in that same. Brad was, I think, and you were right.
Say it louder for those in the back. Yeah, say it louder.
Right? He's going to be the most. He was the most cocky about the edge position, and a part of me actually thinks, Doc, he's going to take a victory lap on AQM. So be ready. He is.
Yeah, no, there'll be a follow up to that. It'll be like, yeah, he had 11 sacks, but only in 7 games. So why did the run defense in the most critical moments fall apart. So it's
what was your first round pick? I mean, Ty Leak. I thought he was
Yeah.
a great run defender. That's what I thought.
Right. So listen, he knows, and he's got enough time to prep. I do feel like there'll be the right amount of spin to describe what happened, but remain hopeful. And he's going to talk about the core and how great they still have good players, that this guy's not falling. But he'll say it in a way that I think I think it'll fall right down the middle. I think those that came in mad will stay mad, and those that are a little more hopeful will be like, okay, there's more of an opportunity. But I do think he does a good job of, I think, rallying the troops to say, okay, I got to draft better and I got to find a strategy to get more. I just hope he does talk the word adapt. You got to adapt. Like your draft strategy, they went with the strategy, it didn't work. And the reason why it didn't work is because you failed to use all the tools, and you were believing that your players on your own roster were better than draft picks or free agents. And that's not the case. Not the case at all. And you always got to use those draft picks. If you're going to keep them, you got to have competition. And I think Dan Campbell said it in his season ending presser. He said, everybody, you know what? We got to get back to our roots. We're going to bring in some players. And I think that means free agents and draft picks to refresh the competition level in that locker room. And I think they got a little fat and sassy, and now they got super kicked back to ground, back down to earth. And now they'll get back to being gritty in 2026. And thankfully that schedule gives them a chance for a little bit of leeway.
Doc, you think Taylor Decker's coming back? What are your thoughts on it? We actually haven't talked to you about the Taylor Decker stuff yet. What are your thoughts on this whole Taylor Decker thing?
Mm-hmm.
Brutal stuff, Doc. Brutal stuff.
Yeah, you guys listen, right? It's tough to see when somebody has to wake up at 6 a.m. and rehab all day to get there. Listen, man, if you ask him today, he'd say he's retiring. I do think he's going to work the process and figure out, first and foremost, a factor that we don't know and nobody knows yet is what level of work is he going to need to play. If he is going to be told by doctors, he's going to do all the work and figure out, okay, what's going on with my arm? What's going on with my health? If he does have to put in hour after hour after hour of rehab to play and practice, he's not coming back. But if he gets good, it's all going to be dependent on medical. And I would say that I'm hoping that it's hopeful that it's going to be something where he can come back and play. He's okay. I think he's probably better than what you would have in a draft pick and Giovanni Manu. But, in the end, I do think that, playing 10 years of football took its toll. And I do think he's looking at quality of life. And, when a player gets away, he gets to relax. That's why it's always smart to take a month to decide, because right after the season, you're emotional, you're tired. He said the words, I need to get away. Like he spent a whole year rehabbing. It's no fun. I do think that he's leaning more toward not coming back. It's a big grind. He felt like he did it all, but there are some factors that are bringing him back. He told reporters that, it means a lot to him that there's some lineage of him and Graham being from the old guard and representing the era before Dan Campbell. He has a lot of respect for that. And when he leaves and Graham leaves, that's it. It's the new guard. And there is a deep attachment to that. He definitely feels like, man, I was part of the old guard. I was a first round pick. I was there with Bob Quinn. I'm kind of part of the lineage. And he kind of wants to see it through a little bit more. But at the same token, I do think that he's a guy that's deeply compassionate and wants to be there to play with his kids. And if he's told that it's going to be a lot of work and there's a lot of risk of further injury where he can't play football with his kids, he might not come back. I'm leaning toward him not coming back. And listen, the cap savings also too would help the Lions if he doesn't come back too.
What about I saw like a Meek Robertson. He already made it clear he wanted to come back, but for a guy like him, Doc, I know he gave up. He gave up if you look at DBs that gave up the most yards, Meek Robertson's number one. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a tough sell on his part. I know the benefit of that, Doc, would be he wouldn't cost a lot given his performance this year. But do you think that's a player they want to bring back to the secondary? Because me and Boone talked about all the free agents in the secondary. I mean, you like Rock Ya-Sin, right? You want to bring him back. But Meek Robertson, they could bring him back. Avonte Maddox, you want to bring him back. You're basically running it back the same secondary. I mean, that's essentially what it is with Terron Arnold and a healthier DJ Reed. But what do you think of Meek Robertson's future?
Yeah, look, he said that Brad Holmes told him the door wasn't closed. It's going to be one of those deals where Brad Holmes needs to see what he's looking for, what the representatives are looking for, what offers that Amik gets elsewhere. I think that if he gets an offer better than Detroit, I do think that, it'll be a tough decision. He likes Detroit. He likes the ability here. He likes the competitiveness. But here's the unfortunate part. His play kind of lent to the idea that he's not going to probably get a big raise here in Detroit, if at all. And you have Ennis Rakestraw in waiting, and probably you're going to draft somebody else as well. So I think it's more of a long shot with Amik. I do think that, unfortunately, he does have the ability to be a great nickel cornerback and I think a top competitor. But at the same token, he was picked on, like you saw, and playing outside was a little bit more difficult this year for him than I think he would like. He definitely probably is not going to be happy with his performance in the second half of the year. But again, he was put in a position, not in the best position, when you have your back end totally injured and you're trying to, work in some zone and man-to-man. I think he's a good player, but I do think he's an upper echelon role player. And I would say that, his salary that he made, maybe if you can get him for a little bit cheaper than that, then it's more affordable. But guess what, guys? These are the tough decisions, because guess what? Jack Campbell needs money. Brian Branch needs money. Jameer Gibbs is probably going to get fatly paid. So unfortunately, I do think while the door is not totally closed from what Brad Holmes said, I think that the financials and the opportunity maybe to upgrade will prevent him from coming back. I have him, I think, on my list as an early guy that they bring back. But at the same token, I like his locker room leadership. I like the way he is. He's competitive. He brings the right stuff to the locker room. But in the end, this is a performance-based business. When they turn on the tape, he didn't have a good enough second half of the year, in my opinion.
Right. What do you think as well, Alex Anzalone? Like, what do you think's going on with that? Because Rodrigo's up, Anzo's up. How do you think they approach that whole thing?
Yeah, no, I think Anzo's gone. I think that he probably ends up with the Jets. I think he's got a natural fit there. Maybe the Broncos, you never know. But Anzo kind of looked at it like, okay, he played out the string. That was a lot of noise. And I think that he's a good player, but this defense is ready now to be taken over by Jack Campbell. And I think there's an opportunity to draft another linebacker and continue to develop the ones you got on the roster. I think Rodrigo, until I see otherwise, I feel like they want to keep giving him opportunities to come back. They want to keep developing Trevor Nowatzki. So we'll see, but I don't think Alex Anzalone will retire a Detroit Lion. I think that was the end. And actually, if you saw, I had a nice conversation with him, and he wasn't as available this year as he was in the past, but in the end, it was a professional exit. Like, you did your duty. You left it better than you came. You give him respect for the time that he put in. He put in 5 full years here in Detroit, and he did the best that he could. And if you want a payday, go get your payday. You earned it. And I just think that this team now needs to be led by Jack Campbell, revamp that linebacker room just a little bit. You got to figure out Derek Barnes a little bit. He had an okay year, but I don't think it lent to lived up to the expectation. I felt like he could have did a little bit better. They tried, actually, to my dismay, I thought that him playing on the edge would be a good solution. They tried it. It just didn't work. And I was surprised at that when you watch the film, that setting the edge was more difficult. Getting the pass rush was more difficult. He had some spark plays, but overall, I felt like him playing that much on the edge was not as good as would have been intended or what was intended for. So I thought he would be a good answer at Sam, but we'll see what happens moving forward. But the linebacker room had a decent year compared to the rest of the defense, no doubt about it.
Well, I want to ask you about a free agent that Lions fans just can't seem to stop talking about, rightfully so. Tyler Linderbaum from the Ravens. He's going to be a free agent. He'll probably command near top dollar. Ravens seem to be a disaster right now. I mean, you mentioned Todd Monken. Maybe that makes it a little easier if you bring in Todd Monken. But just even if they don't, what do you make of the Tyler Linderbaum stuff? And he's going to cost some money. They have like $13 million cap. They're probably going to have to free some up. You mentioned guys that they're going to have to pay, but Taylor Decker retiring would free up even more money. Do you think a guy like Tyler Linderbaum getting a proven center, a good player there would kind of solve a lot of issues? Because the risk is, Doc, is if you draft a rookie center, you're kind of back in the same spot you were. I mean, now you got to let this rookie center develop. So what do you think of Tyler Linderbaum? And if he's not the answer, do you think they go out and sign someone in free agency at that center position? Get a vet.
Yeah, no, look. What are we talking about here? We're not going to give no love to the guy that comes in off the blown Achilles. Seth McLaughlin is the answer, baby. Seth. I could not believe I read that he's coming off of a blown Achilles and spent a year on the practice squad. I was like, man, maybe you could have slid that one under the transaction wire. But listen, no, he's going to be a developmental player. Listen, this is easy stuff. You make an offer. You at least have to let it be put out there. We offered Linderbaum at $17 million a year. You got to do it. You got to be aggressive. You can listen. The noise is growing about your quarterback. Yes, he's got support, but more and more people are growing a little bit more skeptical that this type of player is going to get you to where you need to. So you need to get back to the glory days, and that involves not having Tate Ratledge at center and not having Graham Glasgow at center. You sit down, Graham, and you say, Graham, thank you for all you did. We are moving on. And you get somebody to play that center position that knows how to play it. And if it's not Linderbaum, it's somebody that has some level of experience beyond just Tate Ratledge. If you go into the season with Tate Ratledge at center, forget it. It's going to be a learning year. You can't have that. Tyler Linderbaum's the best. Go get him. Make him an offer and overpay. The cap, I know, is concerning to some people. Goff's going to add $40 million to the cap. You can restructure Amon-Ra, Panay. You're going to get some money. So make an offer and make the Ravens pay it, or make somebody else match it, or go somewhere else. There's other centers out there as well. But yeah, free agency, you got to repair that offensive line. I would repair it with free agency and draft the defensive line and move forward. So you go, Mr. Linderbaum, what is it that you want? Listen, don't tell us you want Monken here. Who do you want? What do you want? All right. Yes. Whatever you want, come to Detroit and run our offense. And it goes to show you that when you make a mistake and Frank Ragnow leaves, it's costly. But listen, that guy's pretty good at what he does. Everybody loves him. And it would be the first sign of good faith that you can have a team that can win. And listen, if you don't, then what you're going to have is a quarterback scrambling for his life at, a measly slow pace, and he's going to try to evade the pocket, and he's going to get killed. And in the end, guys, when you turn on tape more, I spent the last couple of days going, okay, am I really hard on Goff? Oh my goodness. Against the Vikings, guys, he checked into so many opportunities to get himself killed. Like, he's in charge of the offense. He doesn't have to exactly run what Dan Campbell's calling. Your job is, as a guy that I was told gets 3 plays and his job is to pick one. He was kind of picking some plays that were exposing the offensive line and getting himself pressured. Like against the Vikings, there would be pressure coming from his left side, and he would check into plays going to that safe side. He wasn't getting the ball out quickly to the other side. He was not, in my opinion, in the the highest pressure moments, making the exact right calls. It wasn't all the offensive line's fault. A lot of it was, but Goff has some culpability too. And hey, check out some of those plays and get your team into some better positions. You own this offense, and you are the one making the decisions. And I would have just vetoed every run up the middle throughout the whole year after week 1. But listen, Jared Goff, you guys love him, and he will.
Yes, Doc.
He'll be the starter. But in the end, bring me Chambliss. Bring me somebody with some level of athleticism. Bring me someone that he can groom and teach. And also, too, guys, what Dan said too is get back to competition. That's code for everybody. I think Jake Bates needs another kicker in the room to help build his confidence and to keep him competing. I also think the same thing is that what would make Jared Goff better is not more coaches and more this, more that. Bring somebody in where he goes, oh, damn, Booner might even say, put this guy in. Like, nobody believed truly that Hendon Hooker was going to take his job. You draft someone maybe in the first round. I wouldn't care. If they use 17 to draft a quarterback, I'd applaud it. I'd say, good, go get after it and fill the holes with other picks. But I feel like Jared Goff also can have a little bit of a resurgence in 2026, and combined with getting a much better offensive line and getting some guys back healthy with that schedule, there's a good chance to be around 10, 11 wins. So I'm hoping, because listen, if you don't protect Jared Goff, he can go south real fast. Guys, the turnovers will pile up, the interceptions will pile up, and it'll be a problem. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that the glaring offensive line issues were so bad that they're like, okay, sorry, Jared, that was on us. We humbly apologize. We'll restructure your contract. You'll be around for the next 3-4 years, and we'll figure it out. Listen, it's not that far away. All the Lions need to do to win with Jared Goff is get a left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, couple defensive ends, couple interior defensive linemen, a Will, Sam, Mike, couple safeties.
I know what you're doing there.
Coordinator, good defensive coordinator. You can win with that, man.
I know what you just did there. I know you very well, Doc. I know you just basically just said the whole roster, even though we have Jack Campbell, and you just said Jack Campbell's position. I know what you're doing. And what's something?
22 good players, and you got a chance.
That's it. You already have though. You already have 15 of them. Hey, what's your? This is going to be such a weird question, but like, what's your bold take here over the next few weeks, or free agency and stuff that you think? Because I feel like you have a lot of like, I'm not going to say crazy take stock, but you tell it how it is, and you let it be known how you feel. Do you have anything that you haven't said today, or that you've been thinking that might happen over the next few weeks that might be a little bolder?
Yeah, no, look, let's look at the offseason. You got opportunities to revamp this roster. Maybe there's always going to be a surprise cut here or there. I haven't thought about that yet. Right now, I've just been in my world anticipating what Brad Holmes is going to say, gauge that. And clearly they're going to restructure Goff. I think my bold take would be maybe they actually are more fiscally responsible and don't pay Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's going to happen. But one of those guys, Jack Campbell, I think you have to kind of avoid the fifth-year option because it's so bad. You got to bring the cap number down by giving him an extension. I think you take care of Jack. I think maybe you don't take care of Brian Branch and you keep it moving and you extend. I think Jack Campbell and Gibbs get extended, and you get the opportunity to kind of get their cap number in a spot. I think the one thing that I'm worried about is Branch and Kirby Joseph. You might have to get. I think the one thing that people aren't talking about is maybe that safety room is not as reliable as now we think it is, and maybe you have to use an investment in free agency to think about the safety spot. Because Branch is going to be down for a while. That Achilles injury, you never know. Tracy Walker had just had it, and he came back slower. Kirby Joseph, he may be a player that doesn't practice a whole heck of a lot. So you maybe have to look at the safety spot as more of an area of need. In the bold realm, I haven't thought about anything crazy yet. Like I said, we're still in the spot of kind of I would think this draft, in my opinion, what could be bold in the draft is whatever number you're starting at with the number of picks. I think at 17, this year might lend to trading down and maybe getting another second rounder or replacing that third rounder that you let go of, and maybe keep your fingers crossed, because you can check me if I'm wrong, but I think if Ray Agnew ends up leaving, you end up getting some benefit for that. So fingers crossed that a team likes him, loves him, and takes him as a general manager, and that potentially could help the Lions in a further way. But I think this is a draft. When you're a draft guy, I think you want to get 2 or 3 more picks. And I think the one thing that I could say bold that I would not be surprised by is if you need those draft picks, trade Monty for a 4th or 5th, and I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it because you can get a young physical running back that you're going to give 8 carries to in the draft and pay him much better than. It's just, unfortunately, here's the thing, guys. And I think Brad is that way. And I'm not disrespecting Monty, but in the end, you can't pay a running back top 7 money, 7th, 8th, or whatever the number is in total value, and then use them as like the 30th best running back. Teams don't win that way. So this is Jahmyr Gibbs' team. Dan loves Jahmyr. I love Jahmyr. Booner loves Jahmyr. Everybody loves Jahmyr. You just got to go cheaper, or you give the reins to Vaki and you hope that he stays healthy, or you draft somebody. But I think you trade.
Give the reins to Vaki.
Listen, you drafted him. Listen, Brad loves his draft people, and he's still on the team after all those injuries, isn't he? So I think my bold prediction, to answer your question, you move on from Monty for a pick.
Doc,
a 4th or 3rd.
What do you think about these NFL playoffs, Doc? You got Packers, Bears. What do you think of just the NFC and the AFC? Any hot takes for the playoffs or thoughts on the playoffs? Who's in the Super Bowl? Any surprise teams, sleeper teams that you got your eyes on?
I'm loving the fact that the playoffs come a day after Brad Holmes, because tomorrow is going to be all about what do we think about Brad Holmes. For me, it has a natural, for me, covering the NFL as intently as I am. It has the feel of like, okay, I'd like to kind of move away from the NFL a little bit, but I'm a sucker. I always say that, like on a time like today on Wednesday, but Saturday afternoon, I'll be sitting there on the couch watching. Listen, it's clear the NFC goes through Seattle. Njigba is amazing. Sam Darnold has again shown that the Vikings had an egg all over their face for choosing a Michigan inexperienced quarterback over a guy that had the locker room. That's crazy that you let that guy go. You're not in the business of letting good quarterbacks go that end up on other teams that win double-digit games and end up being the number 1 seed. That's how you get yourself fired in the National Football League. I'm excited. I do think the Bears are the easy candidate to be one and done. That defense is not good enough. Oh, my God. As much as people hated Kelvin Shepard's defense, the Bears defense is horrible. That zone is so leaky. They tighten up at times, and they were opportunistic. That's how they covered it up. But I think that doesn't lend to – I mean, guys, it's unheard of that the Packers, I think, are still betting favorites to go on the road and beat the Bears. That's unheard of, but it's crazy to think about. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited potentially for a, Rams, maybe run it back. Rams, Patriots would be interesting. I think Stafford's got it in him if that defense plays well and they're able to. I hate to say it, but I think Stafford's got that magic one more time. And if they play well, there's some magic. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to see what takes place. The AFC is interesting. It's a little more open. Sleeper team, I think everybody's talking about, is Houston. That defense can play, but I'm always in the playoffs. You're always going to need your quarterback to step up. And a guy like CJ Stroud always kind of can go a little bit by the wayside, like Jared Goff. So if CJ Stroud plays better and cleans up his act, utilizes his weapons, that defense can help out. So we shall see. It's a fun time. I am a NFL slappy. I like watching, and it'll be good to see also if there's some coaches on some of these teams that we can steal from, or some guys that I can look at and go, oh man, there's some guys that potentially we could steal their free agents.
Oh, by the way, we got questions coming in for you. We'll start with Shift God. He says, Doc Mailbag, could you ask Brad to release the Davenport files?
Right.
Whoa.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, clearly the way they answer that is, we were hoping that Davenport could come back. We wanted to take a chance. It didn't work out. The only thing you say on that is it didn't work out. Can you believe it, guys? We asked and asked and asked for a little bit more than Davenport. And again, he had a season that was went by the wayside due to injury. And when he came back, he didn't have much impact at all.
It's brutal. Jesse says, Mailbag for Doc, what are your thoughts on Zach Robinson from Atlanta for OC? I believe he was with the Rams before that. And then second, do you agree time is a flat circle in college football with Brantley coming back to East Lansing?
All right. I think he might have entered the portal and came back. Did you guys hear the news about the portal where this dude in Washington is calling out his wanting to be in the portal, but he signed something that unfortunately told him he couldn't? He was getting $6 million from LSU, and LSU was courting another quarterback. It's a wild scene with the transfer portal.
Yeah, Ole Miss going in with no coaches.
Yeah, leave it to college football to have an offseason while the season's going on. This isn't that difficult. Me, you, and Booner could run this properly. Hey, nobody can enter the portal until 24 hours after the last college football game is played. No coaches can leave. The season ends after the 24 hours after the last playoff game is done. That's when we begin our transfers and we can start the offseason. No coaches can leave. We can't do that. You got guys, there's going to be guys potentially trying to get money that are in the championship game. These agents and lawyers are messing it all up. Brantley, I don't even want back. When I saw that he was back, I'm like, this guy left 3 times. I'm like, college football to me has lost a little bit of its luster. I'm more looking at certain players as opposed to whole teams and games. I'm hoping that, Michigan State, 40 guys entered the portal. I hope that the 20 guys that they got from the portal can do something. So we'll see. Zach Robinson's interesting, obviously. Clearly, ups and downs with Atlanta, but he has the lineage with the Rams. That's an interesting name to watch. I don't think he'll be a front runner, but good name to get out there to get an interview.
And that'll do it, Doc. We appreciate the hell out of you. Good luck tomorrow. We rely on you to ask the tough questions. So we'll be watching from home.
Well, I'll take your advice. What do you want me to ask? Because listen, this is the tough part. I know there's a lot. It's a lot to live up to. I have a list of questions, but there's going to be 30 people in the room, and I'm getting cut off, and I'm going to get one of the last questions. So let's say somebody, he addresses it and says, someone asks early, he's going to adapt or what adapt. Okay, outside of that, what else would intrigue you guys? What should I ask Brad Holmes?
I'll start with the project question. I think you have to at least bring up, like, philosophy-wise in the draft. Do you still believe in taking guys that need to be developed, or are you more focused on getting guys that can play right away and contribute?
No, I'm going to ask directly. Are you going to stop taking guys that need 2 or 3 years to develop?
Yeah, that would be up there. I want to see what he says about that.
I want to know. My number one thing I said, I want to know about the offensive line. And it's not just what's going to happen with it. It's what's going to happen. What was your thought process going into the season? Did you genuinely feel like that this was a winning offensive line? Because it feels like no one could say it was.
Yeah.
What do you want to ask? What are some things you have on?
Yeah. What went wrong with the offensive line? Clearly, I mean, the question that would probably piss everybody in your chat off is, why do you still believe Jared Goff can win you a Super Bowl? We're 5 years in. And it's a big investment, $50 million. And why do you still, it's a lot of work to build around a quarterback that is one of maybe 4 pocket passers, So I'd ask that. And then also too, I think a lot of people are wondering about, the edge rusher position. Also too about, the window. Like, I think, what level of urgency do you think you need to have this year to stop the regression? Because I think a lot of people are like, man, you went from the NFC Championship to out of the playoffs. Because here's the thing, Scott Harris has put it out there. Like, can you believe AJ Hinch told the radio station that we got Zach McKinstry, stop asking me about third base? I cannot believe he said that publicly. If he has that kind of tone of like, we like our own guys and we're going to keep it going, we just had a blip on the radar, I think all hell is going to break loose. I just want to know what level of, like, I want to also know about the trade deadline. Were there serious moves that you could have made that got shot down? Like, or why is it appearing that trades are more difficult to make here in Detroit than it is across the league?
Yeah, you know what someone put in the chat earlier is going to say the old takes 2 to tango and takes 2 to make a deal. And, it's always going to be someone else's fault. But yeah, I wonder if there's like a PR person that like, hey, Brad, you're about to walk into the lion's den, no pun intended. Like, just make sure, like, we got to be very careful how you kind of navigate this, Brad. Because if you say the wrong things, you're going to be fucking eviscerated.
Yeah,
maybe I can get that job.
Listen, I will say this:
get him prepped for you guys.
Yeah, he knows it. He knows all the questions. The guy grew up in PR. The blessing is that he knows
he did.
Game.
Yes, he did.
But remember, go check out his answer. Like, he was actually honest. Like, in a way, when I asked him about the Super Bowl, he didn't answer it too great. So I think it's going to be a very interesting thing. But in the end, guys, to your chat and humbly and honestly, what he says is cool. And however he says it, we're going to break it down. But what's more important is action. Brad Holmes needs to take action. Sign good free agents, draft good people, make trades, and draft a real quarterback. See you guys.
Oh, he's got to leave us with that. The DOC joining the show. He's got to leave with the Jared Goff slander at the end.
And then he just, see you guys.
By the way, we're going to get into mailbag, so get your questions ready. Before we get to mailbag, I got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper in preparation for Packers-Bears with Sleeper picks. We'll see you guys in a minute. You got Packers-Bears this weekend, NFC North matchup, and I have my picks for you. I'm going with Jordan Love over on the passing yards. Give me more, 225.5. I'm going more Christian Watson, 51.5. I'm going more Josh Jacobs, 0.5 touchdowns. I think he gets in the end zone this weekend. Colston Loveland, this is a player that shouldn't surprise anybody. I'm going more for 3.5 receptions. He caught 10 passes against the Lions, so give me Colston Loveland. Again, check out Sleeper Picks. It's very simple to use. You choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame live or across different sports. You pick more or less than the predicted stats. And on Sleeper, you can get up to 1,000x payouts. Share with your friends. Get rewarded together. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the show as always. Now let's get back to it. Hey, by the way, Trae Young, while Doc was talking, Trae Young's in Washington.
He got traded while he was on the bench, dude. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen it.
He was sitting on the bench. He had to get up off the bench and go walk out to the locker room, like leave, because he was on the bench and got traded.
Good. Sayonara.
I used to be a Trae Young guy, and he's kind of – I've gone away from Trae Young a little bit.
Dude, he's just not I think he's a fun player to watch. Well, a couple years ago, I think lately he's been declining for whatever reason. But he's not a player that ideally you want to build around. He just doesn't not a culture guy.
He's kind of past that point of his career, in my opinion.
That have worked under. It's not great. So they shipped his ass for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. I mean,
that's good for the Hawks, dude.
Yeah, you got a sharpshooter. Now they have a good core with the Hawks right now. They got going for them.
Well, the thing too with the Hawks, like you'd be like, oh, you're losing the points and Trae Young. Like, I don't think people realize, like, Trae Young's averaging under 20 points a game. Like, obviously, as a point guard, assist is good, but like he's averaging under 20 points a game. CJ McCollum's averaging like 20 a game. So it's like you're essentially just replacing him, the scoring there. And Corey Kispert, I don't know how many games has he played this year, actually. I want to see, because I know he's been a guy, I think it says he's out right now. He's only played 19 games this year. Okay. He's been a guy that's always had some sort of injury, I feel like.
I think it's a good team for both sides. I think Washington just needs someone to bring people to the games. Like, I think they're just looking to be.
Why did Trae Young ask to go to Washington of all places?
I think his former GM is there. And let's be real, like, it would be his team right away. And you get to play with Alex Sarr, which, you know, he's not quite where he's going yet. He's still a good player. But I don't think Trae Young's number one priority right now is winning. I don't think that's really clearly not the forefront of his mind. Because if it was winning, it would have been everywhere except for Washington. But it's like perfect. It just fits the narrative of Trae Young. Like, he's just going to go to Washington, put up buckets. And
it's not even buckets. He's gonna average like 18 a game, 20 a game, maybe.
And they're gonna pay him a boatload of money, you know, because it's Washington. So get paid to lose, essentially. I guess. I don't know. That was interesting, but yeah, he's with the old Washington Wizards. Wow, Phil. Wow, what a mailbag! If you said favorite scoop of ice cream and where do you get it? Favorite ice cream spot? You know what?
You're the ice cream guy, man. I'm not even I would rather, like, if I picked an ice cream spot, I would go, like, my favorite ice cream spots would be up in, like, Mackinac when you go to, like, one of those. Like, when we went to Mackinac for the 4th of July, we went with the little crew. Like, that type of ice cream spot, that's the one that I'm like, I'm all in on.
There's a place on Jefferson called Swirly Top. It's just a little small place. That's good ice cream.
I've never heard of that place. There's actually a place on Hall Road that's over by Jimmy John's Field that's fire. Have you been there?
I don't know what the name is.
It's like around the corner. I mean, people in the chat maybe.
You know, I'm an ice cream guy. Mackinac Island. We went. We went to Mackinac and checked out that I don't know what it was called, but it was like every ice cream they got toppings in there. I mean, it was like it was nuts.
I felt like every time we walked by the ice cream place, we were all like,
smelled.
It was vacation, and we were all just like, let's go in and get some. We got ice cream like 5 times. It was like every time we would walk by a new ice cream shop, we all looked at each other and said, yeah, we have to do this.
It was just nasty, like nasty in a good way. Like,
yeah. And I'm not an ice cream guy, but on vacation, when you're like in a tourist town like Mackinac, and they have, like, it smells so good. They have the waffle, like, just made waffle cones, all those different, they have 100 different ice creams. Woo. Shout out to Honch, by the way. He said he just the Arizona. Is it have you seen these, Jeff? Where did it go? The Rizzleberry Arizona teas with the Rizzler on them?
No.
You have not seen the Rizzler's iced teas?
He's got
Look it up, dude. Oh my God. You got to share your screen when you pull it up. The Rizzler has his own Arizona tea flavor. Like
the Rizzleberry.
Yeah, it's legit, dude.
What are we doing as a society, man? The Rizzleberry?
Yep, there it is. Come on now.
The Rizzleberry? Look at this.
Hey, the Rizzler's a legend, bro.
Wow. I mean, number one, who drew him? Number one, this does not. I mean, it doesn't even look remotely close to the Rizzler. It just
you don't think so? I think they just put him on a can and they took a picture of him and just threw him on the can.
It just looks like just a random fat white kid. Doesn't even look like a Rizzler.
You can buy them too.
It's Arizona with the Rizzler. Oh, that's a Rizzler berry. That is.
We got to get one, right? Do like a review.
Dude, imagine you just show up to the office and the homie's drinking the Rizzler berry.
I mean, I work with Hanch. I could show up tomorrow to the office and Hanch is cracking open a Rizzler berry.
Someone's drinking the Rizzler berry next to you, just completely dead ass serious.
It'd be one of the funniest things I think I would ever see if he just cracked one open.
Duquan had one last night. It was straight.
No way.
No, I'm not gonna lie. Like Rizzler berry, like anything.
Is it raspberry or what flavor is it?
I'm sure. I'm sure the flavor looks good. It looks good, and I like Arizona tea. I mean, I do. I always got Arizona, so I gotta try it, man. I don't know where you grab one. I mean, where are these things at? Wow. Wow. Now I'm in.
Gotta just be at the store, right? The normal, like
Yeah,
just
like,
a 7-Eleven.
Hey, I'm with you too, man. This guy's grinding. I mean, he's probably making royalties from these things. Shout out to
Dude.
Rizzler. He didn't do nothing wrong, dude.
No, dude. I've made the statement, like, if I could ever pick anyone to have, like, to stop their growing, like eternal life, and like you stop aging right where you're at, the Rizzler would be the number one. Like, you're done. Like, I don't ever want to see the Rizzler get old, dude. He is just like the best dude, like one of the greatest content creators I think ever. But like at some point he's gonna get older, and it's like, oh, see, like those Disney Channel stars where they get older and they start going crazy. Like if that happens to the Rizzler, bro, my life would be just in shambles. Like I want the Rizzler, just don't ever do any wrong, man. Like stay young forever, dude. I don't want the Rizzler to ever grow up, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna be sad.
Yeah. He gives hope to this country. The Rizzler.
I wish our guy Jake was on, bro. Jake, he hits the Rizzler face, bro. It's so funny.
Yeah, he does, man. He gives hope. Rizzler gives hope to this country. I mean, he deserves a Medal of Honor. I mean,
the Rizzler, the Theo Von pod with him was one of the funniest podcasts I've ever watched in my life.
I just talking about eating erasers or eating like the
There's just like gloves sitting there. He's like, "Can I put one of these on?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, go ahead."
I can't believe it. C. Merck, the appreciated mailbag. I'm not expecting much from Brad's presser. I will be highly disappointed if he actually AQM was an adequate option opposite of Hutch. Oh, you know he's gonna. And AQM for 1 year. He can kind of fall back on that when asked about the edge position. He can always fall back to, we were top 5 in sacks.
Yeah.
We were top 5 in sacks, even though on a game-to-game basis, we couldn't sniff a quarterback, but we were top 5 in sacks because random games we'd have 14 sacks. And then the other games we'd have 0. But yeah, he'll bring up AQM.
I'm so tomorrow, like, dude, I feel like it's Christmas Eve right now. It's like we got a second Christmas Eve. We got Brad Holmes at 4 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come on.
It'll be good. Tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow's show, you're going to want to be there. You're just going to. It's a must-watch show. There's going to be a lot of things to get to. We have Sam Flannel joining in the second hour, so we'll get to kind of talk to Sam, who's one of the most critical people I know about.
Do you have Flannel in the second hour tomorrow?
So, it's like a perfect pairing. Sam Flannel on Brad Holmes Day is like a marriage mate. It's a perfect marriage.
By the way, we do Saturday. We're doing a watch party. I don't know if you've even said it on the show live yet, but we are doing a watch party at the Dog and Pony Show for the Bears-Packers game. So if you guys want to come out to the Dog and Pony Show, come out there. It's a blast every time we're there. And if not, just make sure, have the stream on Saturday night when you're watching the game. Throw the game on and throw us on. We'll be doing we're going to be live. We said we're going to be live for a lot of the playoff games. It's really going to be the bigger NFC ones, probably like, in my guess, and I'm just spitballing here, Bears games, Packers games, and probably like Matthew Stafford's games. Then the Super Bowl, obviously. But like big NFC and like Stafford, and then obviously the Super Bowl will be one that we're for sure going to be doing an event somewhere. Yep. Hopefully we can do it at the Dog and Pony. We can do a Super Bowl party, and everyone who wants to come can come hang out, watch a Super Bowl with the boys, man. That's a big deal.
Yeah, watch the show if you're at home watching the game, and like you said, Dog and Pony Show Brewing out in Oak Park. Dog and Pony Show Brewing. We're gonna post
such a prime spot too.
It's a great spot. Kyle does a great job over there, so he's welcoming us back there. So we'll be there. We'll be back tomorrow though for Brad Holmes' presser. But until then, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Love you guys.